last video of the night against the Eldrazi Tron. So keep the hand because it's got the Lantern and Brutality in the opener, and according to the spreadsheet, that's a pretty good hand, as long as I got the mana that I need. And I do have double Opal. Yeah, so the Emrakul, I was really confused about that. But I go for discard mode to get an idea of like what my opponent's on, so I know what to keep them off of. And that's when I see that they're on the Eldrazi Tron. Like, oh, okay. So I need I need to not let Karn happen. Everything else I'm good with, just not Karn. So excuse me. So I do the math. Excuse me. I do the math, and I figure out that Emrakul is not going to get cast anytime soon, and so I should be just fine, and letting my opponent draw the Emrakul. Yeah, I was trying to think if I was going to have a response because I don't want my opponent to have that tower. But because I was trying to count it all up in my head how much mana my opponent would have. It was the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I need to worry about my opponent getting to 7, and I need to worry about if my opponent can somehow get Emrakul into play. And right now there's like, what, 1, 2, 3 going on there? So 10 more mana, so I'm still okay at this point. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 with the tower. So I just need to keep him off one more land while I try to get a whatchamacallit. Oh yeah, and I forgot the temple makes Emrakul cost 1 less as well. So I need to get a needle so I can name Karn as soon as possible. And this is me trying to dig to one and keep my opponent off of land. Now, that Endbringer, I can't let that happen because that will kill me. So during my opponent's draw phase, I surgical the Endbringer. Yeah, I get a good look at my opponent's library. Yeah. Opponent kept shuffling afterwards, and it kept putting a good card on top. And I was like, no, stop that. It automatically shuffles. So there's my needle, so I can needle Karn, and now it's pretty set. I just have to keep my opponent off of playing Emrakul. So is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? There's 9, 10, 11, 12. They're 1 mana off from casting Emrakul. And really, if they do Emrakul, the most they can do is like sack my Lantern and like mill to set up and sack my Lantern. But fortunately, I drew the surgical so I can get rid of Emrakul, and that's going to cut it. Put Shredder back on top, and that's game. Like, my opponent has no answers now. I do kind of have to worry about World Breaker. I know my opponent has a World Breaker in there. Now, what I probably should have done was killed the forests, because they don't have any more basic forests, and that way they just can't play a World Breaker, but whatever. Oh. Yeah, I'd forgotten the warping lull could counter the stirrings, but oh well. Yep. Yeah, not Worldbreaker. I want to get Pixis and get Worldbreaker with the Pixis. Opponent goes to, I guess, sack the map in response. Yeah, eventually the opponent concedes. So we go to game 2. Now, I expected my opponent to bring in Chalice of the Voids, so I brought in Seal of Primordiums. Unfortunately, they did not bring Chalice of the Void, but I still did okay. Instead, they brought in like a full place at a natural state. So I'm fortunate here that I have Inquisition and Surgical in the opener, and that pretty much cuts out that whole thing. So I get rid of Natural State, and I see that they have a pretty land-light hand here. So I should be able to just land bridge at this point and win. So during my opponent's draw phase, let's scroll this down a little bit. Yeah, during my opponent's draw phase, I surgical all the natural states. That way, if they do draw another one, and if nothing else, I get the information. Yeah, opponent almost forgot to exile the one in their hand. So yeah, I really I'm sitting here looking at it like, oh crap. I don't have that third mana that I need. I'm about to draw another opal that's not going to do me any good. And I'm about to die if this Reality Smasher comes into play before I can land a bridge safely. And I still have to worry about Ugin here. Now I did slide in another... oh yeah, my opponent kept shuffling. So at this point I had to make a decision, and I had to grab the Smasher, and I figure at some point I'll just draw what I need. I'll draw the needle in time to take out the Ugin, and they're like pretty far away from casting Ugin anyways. They have 4, 5, and if they draw, and then they draw this, the map. Yeah, I go ahead and force them to sack the map now. I think there was a card on top that I didn't really want my opponent to have, and I wanted to shuffle it away. Yeah. So there's a stirrings, and so there's a needle. Now I can needle Ugin, and I can play out my opals and play out my bridge. Now this does mean that I don't have a way to control my opponent's draws, so I'm in a little bit of a hurt there. So I need to grab a mill rock off of this, and I do, fortunately, so I'm able to get rid of the Ulamon. So now I'm okay. Everything's cool. Now my opponent here, I think my opponent should have grabbed Ugin Sanctum with that map. That way they can sack it when they eventually play Ugin to go get a World Breaker or something. Oh. But so instead, now I have top control and everything's good to go. Yeah, opponent goes quarters himself to try to, so I don't mill their, I guess their Emrakul. There's a Sanctum. and opponent conceded. So yeah, not bad.